Ladies and gentlemen of the press, Gaza is becoming a graveyard for children. The nightmare in Gaza is more than a humanitarian crisis. It is a crisis of humanity. The intensifying conflict is shaking the world, rattling the region, and most tragically, destroying so many innocent lives. Ground operations by the Israel Defense Forces and continued bombardment are hitting civilians, hospitals, refugee camps, mosques, churches, and UN facilities, including shelters. No one is safe. At the same time, Hamas and other militants use civilians as human shields and continue to launch rockets indiscriminately towards Israel. I reiterate my utter condemnation of the abhorrent acts of terror perpetrated by Hamas on 7 October and repeat my call for the immediate, unconditional and safe release of hostages held in Gaza. Nothing can justify the deliberate torture, killing, injuring and kidnapping of civilians. The protection of civilians must be paramount. I'm deeply concerned about clear violations of international humanitarian law that we are witnessing. Let me be clear. No party to an armed conflict is above international humanitarian law. Ladies and gentlemen of the press, Gaza is becoming a graveyard for children. Hundreds of girls and boys are reportedly being killed or injured every day. More journalists have reportedly been killed over a 4-week period than in any conflict in at least 3 decades. More United Nations aid workers have been killed than in any comparable period in the history of our organization. I salute all those who continue their life-saving work despite the overwhelming challenges and risks. And the unfolding catastrophe makes the need for a humanitarian ceasefire more urgent with every passing hour. The parties to the conflict, and indeed the international community, face an immediate and fundamental responsibility to stop the inhuman collective suffering and dramatically expand humanitarian aid to Gaza.
I was a commissioned captain in the Army. If I had been handed a mission and my response was that it was not a possibility, I cannot imagine that that would have been accepted. Mr. President, you are the commander-in-chief of one of the most powerful militaries on the face of this planet, in the history of the world. How can you be so powerful and so weak as to say that you are incapable of negotiating peace? How embarrassing for you. The Army values that I was taught to uphold as a commissioned officer are leadership. Leaders don't speak about what is impossible. Leaders find ways to facilitate the conditions that make things possible. Integrity. How can you stand before us as a commander-in-chief with any integrity and claim that you are powerless in this situation when our country, our tax dollars, give Israel $18 billion a year, if not more? If you believe that the president is incapable of negotiating peace, I have an $18 billion bridge to sell you.
Okay.
Rekan-rekan media yang saya hormati, hari ini 13 Desember adalah hari terakhir saya berada di Jenewa. Beberapa pertemuan yang saya lakukan adalah pertama, hadir dan berbicara di Global Refugee Forum. Kedua, melakukan diskusi dengan Center for Humanitarian Dialogue. Ketiga, pertemuan bilateral dengan Menteri Luar Negeri Iran. Dan keempat, pertemuan dengan Komisaris Jenderal UNRWA, Philip Lazzarini atau Badan PBB yang memiliki tanggung jawab mengurusi pengungsi Palestina. Saya mulai dengan yang pertama, yaitu Global Refugee Forum atau GRF. Forum ini diselenggarakan dengan tujuan untuk melihat kemajuan komitmen negara dan stakeholder lain yang telah disampaikan pada tahun 2019. Kemudian membahas isu-isu terkait masalah pengungsi, termasuk burden responsibility sharing, serta membahas respon-respon yang perlu dilakukan secara komprehensif. Forum ini dihadiri oleh lebih dari 140 negara. Kehadiran Indonesia dalam forum tersebut menjadi sangat penting, khususnya di tengah situasi beberapa waktu terakhir ini di mana Indonesia menghadapi tantangan masuknya para pengungsi Rohingya. Dalam GRF, saya menyampaikan bahwa dunia saat ini sedang tidak baik-baik saja. Dunia tengah menghadapi lonjakan pengungsi yang sangat besar dan salah satu penyebabnya